Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to be having a go at a really fun, simple drawing which will be great for you guys to have a go at if you're feeling a bit bored, being stuck at home and you just want to give something a go that's not too complicated. So we're going to be drawing this beautiful palm tree silhouette with a lovely colourful sky. Let's start by going through the materials that I'll be using, and as always the materials will be listed in the description. I'm going to be using pastel pencils for this drawing, but you can use whatever medium you want. And I'm going to be using my Stabilo Carbothello pastel pencils. For paper, I'm going to be using my pastel matte white paper, but you can use any pastel paper or mixed media paper that you want. So the colours that I'll be using, you can see I've got them listed on the right hand side, but really you don't need too many different colours. I'll be using a light yellow and a bright red, also more of a pink toned purple and just a normal purple. We've also got a navy blue as well as our black and white. So not any complicated colours for this one. For blending, I'll be using cotton buds a little bit, but mainly just my fingers, and your fingers will be fine for blending. I just want to keep it really simple for this one. So we're going to start by working on a base layer for the sky, and I'm just starting off with my lightest colour, which is the yellow, and I'm focusing the lighter colours for the sky mainly around the palm trees. So it's going to be lightest in the centre, and then it's going to get darker as we go towards the edges and the corners. And I'm very sketchily getting in this yellow. You don't have to be perfect with it, just block it in. You can see that I'm being quite streaky and actually quite messy. And that's fine because pastels blend really easily. And I'm going to do the same thing with the bright red, starting to get that in, mix it in with the yellows. And the way I'm applying my pencil strokes is I'm actually doing them, as you can see, in diagonal lines that are going upwards, to give a really nice motion to the sky and to make it look like there's clouds in the sky. I'll also link down below a website link to the reference that I used so that you can follow along with this project if you want to. Really though, I just want you to have fun with this one and just sort of play around with it and get creative. I'm now going in with my more pink tone purple, and I'm focusing this around the sides and the edges that we haven't filled in yet. I want it to be darkest around the edges and corners and then get lighter around the palm trees to give a really nice galaxy sort of look to the sky and to make it look really beautiful, like a beautiful sunset. And for this layer, we're just sort of blocking everything in and trying to get a good foundation and a decent amount of pigment down on our paper. I'm just intensifying some shadows with the darker purple. And it really helps to make the sky look like it's moving and that the clouds are on the move if you do all of the lines going in one direction. And like I said, I'm going a diagonal direction, going upwards, because it looks like the clouds are moving in that way, in that direction. And it really helps to make it look a bit more lifelike. Now I'm going to blend out this first layer, and I'm just going to use my fingers. Just make sure that your hands are nice and clean and dry so that you're not putting lots of oil residue on your paper. But because we're just having fun with this and it's not too complicated, I just want it to be an easy project that you can all have a go at. We're just going to use our fingers. But you do have the option to use a blending stump or a cotton bud or the little sponge applicators you can have that blend pastels really well. You can use any of those things, anything that you have. And then what I'm doing for the second layer is I'm just basically building up another layer of all of those colours just to make the colours a bit more vibrant, and also because we want this to be really smooth looking. At the moment with the first layer it tends to still be a little bit grainy, and then the more layers of pastel that you build up it will get smoother and smoother. So we're just working on a second layer, basically adding the exact same colours where you did the first time, but just another layer. So I started off with the yellows, now I'm going in with those brighter reds, and I'm still working in the same order with the colours, starting from the lightest and then going to these darker colours. I'm also working the colour in between the palm trees. I already sketched out the palm trees, but you can do the sky first and then just get in the palm trees after. You don't even have to sketch them out. I just sketched them out because I use this as a Patreon series, so I offer the sketch outlines on there, so that's why I sketched it out first. You can also go in with some white, just for any highlighted areas that you want. And you can even add the white within those darker areas to create some lighter clouds. And once again, once you've worked on that second layer, just go back in and blend it all out. And when I'm blending with my fingers, I start off by blending the lightest areas and then blend the darker areas after, to try and prevent muddying up all of my colours together. So try and only blend one colour at a time. Now for your third layer, you can start to add a few more details. For example, I'm adding more yellows throughout the sky to give it more of a cloudy look to it. Just add a bit more detail. But you still want to soften out all of those little details once you've added them in. And this time I'm using a cotton bud, just so that I can have a bit more control over my blending process. Now before we move on to the palm trees, I'm just going to go in with a couple of highlights using the white pastel, mainly around those palm trees within the yellow areas, but you can add some highlights throughout the darker sections as well. And at this point you just want to tweak the sky until you're happy with how it looks. I definitely want to go in and intensify the edges of the drawing a little bit more, just to darken them up so that it looks really nice and bright in the centre, and then it goes to a really dark colour at the edges. I think that will look really eye-catching and help to add a lot more contrast. So I'm using my darker purple and navy just to intensify those shadows around the edges, making sure to still go in those diagonal lines to give the look of clouds. And once again, make sure that you're blending everything out once you've finished each layer and each detail with your fingers or your cotton bud. Now before we move on to working on the palm tree silhouette, I just want to let you guys know that the real-time tutorial for this drawing is available over on my Patreon, as well as over 300 other real-time tutorials, not just for pastel but for coloured pencil, watercolour, charcoal and much more. You can get access to all of these tutorials for just a small amount per month, and you get all of the resources you need, like the reference image, materials list and sketch outline. Recently I created a website that allows you to navigate all of the tutorials I have on Patreon really easily and see what I have on there before you pledge. And so there's so many projects that you guys can have a go on, especially if you are bored at home, and you can use this time to improve your art skills and just have some fun trying new things. So if you are interested in checking out my Patreon, I'll leave a link at the top of the description. Now it's time to work on the palm trees, and as you can see from my sketch that's kind of blurred out at the moment, we've got a cluster of palm trees that are sort of leaning towards the central palm tree, and the perspective is that we're kind of looking up at these group of palm trees. So when you do each palm tree, I want you to do it slightly leaning towards the center so that they're all going towards the center. And then the palm tree that's dead in the center, you can do that one going straight up. When it comes to drawing the palm trees, the trunks are actually quite thin. It's only on the really big palm trees that they've actually got thicker parts at the base of their trunk, and then it gets thinner towards the top where it meets the leaves of the palm tree. So I like to draw in the trunks of my palm tree first, and then I create all of the palm leaves. And when you're doing the leaves of the palm tree, make sure you're doing them as nice curved leaves, curving them downwards, and make sure you're building up multiple pencil strokes for each leaf and sort of creating clusters of leaves as well. Try and create a variety as well. Have some leaves that are slightly thicker, slightly longer. A few individual bits that are a bit longer and a bit more rogue. Try and make it very natural so it's not all uniformed. You don't want every leaf to be doing exactly the same thing, going in exactly the same direction. Try and add a little bit of randomness while still curving your leaves downward and following the basic shape of the palm tree. And you just want to repeat that process for all of your trees. I find this can be a really therapeutic thing to do, drawing in the silhouettes, because it's just doing the same thing over and over again, especially if your silhouette is a group of trees. And just look at the reference and follow what you can see. Like I said, I will link the reference so that you can follow along and use it to look at the shape of the leaves for the palm trees. But really, I just do a line that indicates the basic structure of that leaf, and then I just add lots of lines coming out to that main one to build up the fullness of the palm tree leaves. Make sure that you've got a really nice sharp pencil when you're doing this. I'm just using my black pastel, and keep it nice and sharp so that you can get in all of the details, because we do want our palm trees to be in focus. It's only the background that we want to be nice and soft. We want our trees to really stand out. So try and keep your pastels as sharp as you can, though I know it is quite hard, especially when it comes to using pastels, because they can break a bit easily. So I only sharpen them a little bit to get the point. And as you can see, I'm just filling in all of those palm trees. If you think that you'll find it hard to do all of the sky and then do the palm trees over the top, then you can do what I did and sketch out using a graphite pencil the shape of your palm trees first, and just sort of work around it when you're doing the sky, because that might give you a bit more peace of mind when it comes to using the black to block in these silhouettes if you've already got the sketch down. And so if you use that reference, you can trace it so that you can get a really accurate shape for your palm trees. At the end of the day, we're just doing this for fun and to relax if you have some spare time, which I'm sure a lot of us have at the moment. And the final thing that I'll be doing is just using a little X-acto knife, and I'm just using this to create some really nice sparkly white stars in the sky, just by scraping that X-acto knife on top of my white pastel and letting that dust settle on my pastel drawing. And you can seal this with a fixative if you want. But here you can see the final result. Like I said, the real-time tutorial is available on my Patreon, but I really hope you guys enjoyed following along with this drawing. Make sure to tag me on Instagram at Kirsty's Art if you did try this tutorial or any of my other tutorials, or just to show me the work that you're creating. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new around here, and even tick that bell icon so you do get notified on my future videos. But that is it from me, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye everybody.